Welcome to Lift Your Legacy. My name is Jacob Rupp, father, husband, and rabbi. And each week we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you unlock your inner potential and create change that will impact the future. Thank you for listening, and let's get to it. I am so thrilled to have a dear friend, mentor of mine, and mentor to thousands of people. Millions? I don't know if we're at the millions yet. Are we at the millions yet?
I think we're up to billions and
billions. You hacked the China market. Fantastic.
Finally.
Rabbi Doniel Katz, who is an educator in Yerushalayim and has recently launched and is launching multiple programs online, bringing his tremendous and unique Torah insights to the world, and is a favorite teacher amongst many students in Jerusalem and students that I've had the pleasure of bringing him to. And I think you took my sister in for a while, so thanks for that. That was nice.
This is great. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Okay, Rabbi Katz, welcome to the show. How are you?
Wonderful. Pleasure to be here. Awesome what you're doing. Go Rabbi Rupp.
Yes, thank you so much. Rabbi Katz, tell us a little bit. Obviously, you bring a level of aesthetic beauty and art to your practice. What's the background on that? Get us up to where you are right now.
Aesthetic beauty and art. I'm glad someone's paying attention. I used to be a filmmaker in a past life in the same body, into film and theater. Maybe that's where I got the aesthetic sense from. I definitely think that beauty is an exile, as some of the mystical writings say. So I don't think that's the focus of what I do, but I do think that there's no reason that Torah and mitzvahs and presentation of Torah education can't be presented in a more beautiful way. So that's part of what we do. But if that's the question you're asking, I have a film and filmmaking and theater making history. And, you know, that was a long time ago. And now we live in the less aesthetic, beautiful parts of the religious parts of Jerusalem. But I've been here for the last 20 years, more or less, a little less. It's been quite a long journey.
Get me into that journey a little bit. And in the process of your journey and what drew you from Australia to Yerushalayim, what also attracted you? Like, what was your influence with Hasidus, and how did you get that specific derech of your Jewish expression?
Right. I think a lot of people kind of have the derech, the path that they take within Judaism, within the different sects. Sex is always not such a great word to me. It sounds like more cultish, but it's often like the first place they arrive at is the thing that they become. It's just default. If you end up going on a Ma'or trip and you end up going to one of the wonderful machans, that's great. If you're Makar and brought in by Chabad, then you end up kind of being that. I wasn't really brought in through anyone, okay? So I had a connection with the Lakewood Kollel in Melbourne, which is not known as a massive outreach organization. So I always say they were wonderful and sweet and caring, but somehow, you know, Hashem definitely makaraved me personally, and I appreciate that. Somehow I got here. I was always a mystical seeker. I was into theater and film, but I was always into Sufism and Buddhism and a lot of isms. And for me, the one place I hadn't looked, like a lot of Jews today, is my own backyard. And of course, without realizing at the time, I was quite resistant because nobody really wants, we probably have the worst branding of any religion in the world, and that's a little worse. There's a lot of discussion, certainly compared to Buddhism, Christianity, they're often more sophisticated in media and presentation, all these things. But for me, I wasn't interested in ultra-Orthodox dogmatic religion, certainly not Judaism. I think on the inside as well, there was some resistance we all have because we sensed that there's something there, even though consciously I absolutely did not sense there was something there. I got hit, struck by lightning multiple times. I had a trip to Israel that was very impactful to me when I really met some religious Jews for the first time. When I went back to Australia, I was looking into things, but it was really the things that were drawing me in was Aryeh Kaplan books about Jewish meditation. It was Akiva Tax books and lectures on mysticism. I was pretty naive. I did turn up to yeshiva thinking it was going to be a Jewish ashram, and it's not exactly an accurate description of what goes out there. And it took me about 18 years to recover from that. But for me, the mystical teachings were really profoundly motivating. The spiritual experience was something that was real to me before I identified as a Jew. I'd had profound experiences. I hung out with weird people that also lived and had those experiences. And I really wanted to understand that phenomena. And Torah in the end, and Kabbalah and Chassidus in the end, really spoke to that and explained that in a way more profound than other mystical paths for my sensitivities. I was exposed at the beginning to places like Asia Torah very briefly, and I appreciate what I learned there. But ultimately, some very powerful spiritual experiences that really shook me out in the momentum of my life. I want to be a famous filmmaker. I want to go to Hollywood, etc. All these kind of things, and really put me on the path to say I need to find the source of these experiences. I need to understand them. So when I came to learn, and I learned in wonderful, more yeshivish kind of places. Really, most of all my time learning was spent in them. What really pulled me out of the momentum of those places was the search for, the spiritual experience, and the search to really have, devekus and shleimus, to really self-transformation on a deep level and self-elevation of, not about the brand, but just about the true experience of enlightenment. And what did that mean, and where was that? And those were the works that spoke to me, the teachers that taught that happened to be mystically inclined. So I was pulled on that path. Though I have to say, I'm very grateful that I got a wide exposure of many things, because I think it's sorely missed. As great as any yeshiva seminary is, there's something lacking. I always know as a people that have only been to one. They may have only been to Hasidic path, but not seen a Litvish path. May have been a Litvish path, not seen Hasidus. And I often find the most well-developed often are people that have exposure to both and appreciate the blessings of all. I think it's a very important thing.
Can I jump in on two sides of the question? Question number one is that we see that with these transformative experience programs that are now, very culturally popular, Burning Man, et cetera, you find this whole group of, I don't even think it's an undercurrent. Now it's like the main current of people that are seeking these transformative experiences, these altered states. There's a book that just came out called Stealing Fire about the what happens to your brain, and it's amazing.
It's a fun book, yeah.
So, and of course, at the underpinning of all of these books are Jews that are either running the program, starting the program, or managing the programs. And
I also noticed that pattern, yes.
It's absolutely crazy. So now the real question and the challenge is, you had the opportunity, I don't want to say opportunity, there was the part of you that made that commitment to go and learn. There was that part of me that made the commitment to go and learn. And depending on how old you were when you left and how old I was, I just graduated college. I didn't have like that much going on otherwise. But for a person that's 25, 30, 35, 40, and is drawn by this world of, quote, mysticism, and loves the Burning Man and loves all these alternative conscious things, and they are Jewish, but maybe they're not going to make that commitment. What's that step where you start to connect them or explain the reasons why, if I want a transformative experience, halacha and Orthodox Judaism is the route to go?
Now, it's interesting, whenever you use the word mystical experience, you also put Burning Man in there. Now, I appreciate why that could be. There are many experiential, immersive environments and seminars which aren't as extreme and perhaps unstable, or even potentially as high as Burning Man. So we should, create perhaps a ladder that there's other places to explore. The path between the spiritual experience and the halachic path. First of all, we have to be very, very clear. The halachic path is a map to spiritual experience, right? I mean, without going into all the mystical understanding, I don't think this is like a learning format. It's a conversational format, which is wonderful and very much needed.
I know you can talk for like 10 hours straight, so I'm excited about that, but yes, go for it.
You're going to vote me in, and that's where you get paid the big bucks. And if you don't, I pray that soon you should get paid the big bucks. Halacha, the idea is we can live in a high spiritual place, but halacha creates a vessel to bring that consciousness down to earth. That's why the word for vessel is kli, and the letters halacha, the same numerical value as the word kli and vessel. But the challenge is that there's a problem. There's a lot of people that live with halacha, and they live with the vessel, but they've never been taught how to plug into the light. There's a lot of people in the world that plug into the light, but aren't taught how to bring that down. That's part of the challenge. I think the Burning Man is as unkosher as the environment is. I'm deeply highly cautious whatever words I use. I appreciate why people feel the need to go there.
100%.
And I think it's almost, if we don't like what's there, then we only have ourselves to blame. Because if we can't offer equivalent spiritual high experience, within a vessel of holiness, then those sparks will do fall to other places, and people have to seek them. Doesn't mean I'm giving this stamp to go, but I get why people go, and I know people that have gone there and have ended up in a Torah place. Now, in the self-help industry, we understand the difference between inspiration and integration. Okay, we understand the difference between the high and creating stability and maintaining a high in a powerful way in life. And we can argue the philosophic view that says life is not about a high, life is about doing the hard work. But there are many Torah sources that teach us across the board that we are supposed to live with Devekis, we are supposed to live with connection. Tefillah is supposed to be that high, and Shabbos is supposed to be that high. And we see for many great spiritual masters, Tzaddikim, that was always true. And we need that, otherwise we will be left to have to flee to the Buddhist meditation retreats and the ashrams and the Burning Mans. So for me, what the bridge is you show me a person that has a normal Western secular life, whatever that means in a very generalized sense. And then they have that skyrocket blast out of their consciousness. Today, it's Burning Man, it's ayahuasca, it's an ashram somewhere, right? The problem is it's unsustainable for multiple reasons. And one of the multiple reasons is because we are multi-dimensional creatures, okay? We have a body, we have emotions, an emotional world, we have an intellect understanding, we have a soul consciousness, right? And if I jump out of all of those dimensions and I jump into a high, my brain doesn't know what happened, my intellect doesn't know, my emotions are still in the God, I'm still dealing with pain and ego and lust and fear. My body has habits where I'm stuck in my life. And what I need is to hold that there is what we call the base of Mikdash, a Mikdash Ma'at. I need to turn myself into the Kabbalistic languages of Makava. I need to have a mind and a belief system which is aligned with higher beliefs and higher goals and aspirations and what are the morals and ethics that support a consistent, skyrocket experience. I need to have my emotions in line with experiences. Ask people what they experience. It's always love, unity, the interconnecting of everything. I need to be at peace within my own heart and not at war in my heart, as Rav Nachman says. He says that's the preparation to peace within ourselves, to make peace between soul and body, to make peace between the worlds, right? And I need to have habits that integrate those values. And when a person builds from the body up my habits into holy, healthy habits, and my emotions into emotional, healthy, integrated emotions, and my belief systems into healthy, wonderful, holy values, then what I'm creating is an alignment of my complete being, a alignment of the complete system, which allows me to live on that level, to understand that in all its depth. And to understand why that's there and who I am and how I connect to it, and to align my whole being to access it. So the halacha is not about halacha. It's not like, so why would we come into a boring legal system? What we come into it is an integrated path of human development, which allows me to move towards that. That's what halacha is. And if people know that halacha is a journey, halicha, and is preparing my entire being as a kli, then everybody gets there. In fact, people are hungry for that because they want to get back there, and they sense that a place like Burning Man gives them the high, but with instability. And they search in their hearts, if they're slightly balanced, they're healthy, to maintain that, but with stability. And that's what I believe the Torah has par excellence.
That's amazing. Now flip to the other side, which would be that I am, a halachic Jew that practices halacha, that's living in the world, that is not living in Yerushalayim.
That's easy. Those people have to go to Burning Man.
I was waiting. My wife, when I read Stealing Fire, my wife's like, oh, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. But honestly though, for like, as you mentioned, for so many people,
do I have to say I was joking there? I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to be put in the chayim for that. Anybody they have a sense of humor and emotionally healthy enough? Okay.
I hope so.
Okay.
I might be going to Burning Man. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But the question is, for the person that seeks, and definitely I think a lot of us had that experience in yeshiva where we were connected, but in the process of going through life, and if you're not in a connected environment, and again, I know there's an extent that you have to try to create that for yourself, but so many Jews are spiritually dead and doing all of the quote right things. So what's the solution for those people?
This is something we thought a little about on our project.
Good.
What is practically the solution? Well, let's play a game. I can give the hashkafic, the philosophical answer. Let's play a real world solution, because a lot of rabbis and teachers and mishpiyim or rebbitzins who are into this stuff, there's all these correct and insightful spiritual things to say. We have to find spirituality within our own path, or we have to develop a sensitivity through Musaf Kasis, we have to learn certain svarim. the end of the day, it doesn't work. Now, I assume your audience has enough sense of humor to know when I'm having fun, I'm being playful, and I have to be careful with myself. But I'll tell you what's happening on the ground. Let's talk about what's happening on the ground. What's happening on the ground is on an exponential level. Religious Jews are running to secular self-help, self-development seminars. They are trying ayahuasca. They are running to other spiritual paths, be it Buddhist meditation techniques. They are immersing more and more explicitly in environments. It's recognized by those industries that there's more of those people with the funny hats and who are not eating the food catering at the events, who are coming in, they can't write on that seventh day, whatever they do. They keep. What's happening on the ground is a decision that more and more people are making. And I am not saying that this is good. I'm just saying this is what's happening, okay? And that is people believe that they have a decision to make. They believe that I can keep going as I am and be miserable. And is this everybody? No, it's not everybody, but there's a growing population. Or I can go against what I understand as my tradition and my Torah, and I stop saying Torah should be enough. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what happened. I've spoken to hundreds, literally interact with thousands of people who have this dialogue, who have this challenge, who ask these questions. And then they move beyond that and they have revelation. And many of them come back and then try and bring that and integrate that into halacha. And many of them aren't able to integrate that. And therefore it creates a hashkafic schism where, okay, I'll do my habitual observance of mitzvahs and I'll go and do that meditation or that self-development technique or that ayahuasca drug for my spiritual expansiveness, right? And that is, I believe, catastrophic. Yeah. So it's catastrophic, but my challenge is to everybody, to all of us holy Yidden that think it's catastrophic, that perhaps the only thing more catastrophic is if they don't go out. And I'm not saying that's the answer. I believe there's another answer. That's what we're working Yom V'Layla on, right? So I'm not trying to set this up to promote anything, but I'm deeply troubled because I've been there. And I've dialogued with so many people. This is what I do. I'm the Rabbanim behind this and the struggles. The more catastrophic thing is when people feel that they're dedicating their life to a religious system that is not being effective in their instant transformation. I'm not speaking, God forbid, against Torah. I believe Torah has it. But what we're acknowledging is that there's a voice of many that feel that's not giving it to them. Yeah. And these are people, Yirei Shemayim, that would deeply seek to access it. They would deeply love to access it if they knew where to look, if they knew where to find it. So this is troubling for us all. Have you been in some of this? Am I allowed to bounce questions back to you?
Ask me whatever you want.
This is Mutter. Is this something, I imagine you've spoken to people like this. Is this something you would define as similar to your own personal
I have my credit card right here, ready to go. 1,000%. 1,000%. And it keeps me up all night also because the concepts that the self-help books promote of developing and growth and all of these things that are possible, where do you connect this back? And how do you find that in the Torah that we're getting, which is, again, it's very important, but a Mishnah Berurah class or a short thing on the real person is being lost in Judaism. And you feel like you have to hide that. You can't share that. You'll be judged. And you just take all of this stuff and you just shove it under the table and pretend that doesn't exist. So 100%. Yes.
Right. I don't even think people like to say this is part of it. Who's to blame? Do we blame the rabbis? Do we blame the Sfarim? Do we blame the Rosh Hashivas? I don't see what we have to blame. If you walk into a restaurant and someone serves, an outstanding piece of steak and outstanding potatoes, and then you say, I'd like some dessert, and they serve outstanding steak and outstanding potatoes. You say like a coffee, and they say, so you don't have to say that's a terrible restaurant. You can say, what they do is it's world class. It's medium rare, it's exquisite, right? The potatoes are, crunchy on the outside. It's wonderful. It's just that there's other things that are on the menu. So, I appreciate, we don't have to blame. I appreciate everything that's being done. I appreciate the US Shema. I appreciate the access to Talmud Chacham, and I appreciate the Shram that we have in our door. These are wonderful, wonderful things. It's just that there's other things that are on the Torah menu. And after 2,000 years of exile, as Hashem promised us as would be, we're depleted and limited on our access, our capacity to access the full dimensions of Torah. And I believe with all my heart that our yearning for that is what will draw that out for the next generation. The fact that we are hungry for that, the fact that we pray and we scream and we cry, and if we don't get ourselves, we see our children eating it. And the fact that we're hungry is, Amunah is moishach, is what the mystical writings say, that our faith draws that reality into the world. And I believe our yearning for that will draw in just other wonderful things to add to our menu, that's all.
So the idea is basically to live with that hunger and to try to figure out how do you fill that, and then that itself will bring in the solution, that there'll be
not just live with a hunger as in stay hungry. I mean, there's that self-help line, stay hungry as in keep fighting. That's not what we mean, because there's too many people I know and too many communities I know are suffering. I've spoken to the Rabbanim that you can't stay hungry for so long that your system doesn't collapse. Internally, externally, right? So we're not saying, neither of us are saying stay hungry. You're supplying content right now. You're trying to feed that, right? But we have to not repress the hunger. We have to say that not only is that hunger is there, but that hunger is the fountain, soid v'shorish of our avoda. That's the samalacha nafshi, that my soul is yearning for Dvekas. My soul is yearning for tikkun. My soul is yearning for Ava and Yira and Simcha and Kedusha. If you repress that, what else is any of our mitzvahs of Avodas Hashem? But what we want to do is we want to find kalim, vessels, that teach us how to express and channel those feelings, right? And therefore, like anyone in the world, that when you have a yearning that, the environment you're in is not feeding that, then you have options. You have to seek things, alternatives. You have to create alternatives. And, then the game is on, then the fun begins. And I think the fun, we live in a highly, we can't take it for granted, a highly blessed generation where we can afford to be young and spiritually idealistic and frustrated with the system. A generation or two before us that the system got smashed to pieces and people had to build a new system with tremendous mesirus nefesh. And now we're kind of in a luxury. I can go after any wonderful amount of yeshivas in the world. I can get millions of classes to download online. On my iPod, I have all of Shas in English. Do you know what I mean? So now I can afford to complain about the system. We're kind of spoiled brats in that way. But at the same time, we have authentic needs. And those needs, we should not remain hungry, but we need to channel that hunger and channel that thirst to finding authentic solutions. And I believe with all my heart, the solutions that we find and generate will be our greatest gift to the next generation and will allow our next generation to continue, God willing.
Like I watch your Facebook Live and I know what you're doing, and I'm so excited about it that I think very few people are doing. Having that insight and recognizing that with all of the information that's out there, it's still, and again, it's for me also, it falls flat. It's not, dealing with the real challenges that a lot of us are dealing with. Are there other stuff out there, or is that what's really fueling you? As you're saying, like, I might be one of the only people right now that is trying to speak to this real problem, which is that people don't feel connected, that people don't feel turned on by their spirituality. And they go to shul, but they really enjoy doing something else.
I feel like I have to be very, very cautious in how I answer this question. I can answer it dishonestly, or I can answer it honestly and sound like an idiot. So okay. So one of the things I always say, and I'm really true, if someone was doing the kind of stuff we're doing better, I would in a second quit the project, go and learn it by them, and start teaching that kind of stuff. Because I actually feel, people think I'm joking when I say this, I actually feel bitter and resentful that we had to create this program. There's a lot of people, without naming names, who are wonderful rabbis who have taught the importance of avoda and Av, and even our generation, and put out books to that. And they're doing wonderful work. I think they're putting on the map, and kol kavod to them. My challenge with a lot of the stuff I'm aware of it out there is it doesn't seem to come far down enough that it becomes truly, immediately, experientially practical to people, as much as secular self-help development seminars, etc. So the question is to find that middle ground where you're speaking with 100% authentic Torah. It's a comprehensive Torah system where it's the tools are from Torah, but there is powerful and transformative as secular elements, and that this sounds controversial to some, but it's 100% sourced in multiple Torah sources of Hasidus, of Kabbalah, of Chazal, is that there are many tools in our generation which can be from secular sources. Not only can be that our job is to integrate up. That doesn't mean copy, it means something more sensitive and interesting than that. But part of us is to watch and is to learn and allow that to unravel the path of Nevuah and the path of Ruach HaKodesh and the path of the Baal Shem Tov. And when you study the materials, I'm talking Torah materials, and study in depth secular, you can't help but notice that the things they're understanding today are explicitly things that are hundreds and thousands of years ago in detail. So we can't help but acknowledge that phenomena. And what we're trying to seek to do in the project is just to begin to integrate that and create curriculums and make that accessible to many people, from religious to secular to a universal wisdom, and start to put that out there, start making a global contribution to ourselves in the world.
Did you stumble on this, that you want to bring a profound sense of, again, I keep using that word mystical because it's hard to find a better word for it, but seeking out the unconventional path, going into the path of Hasidus. And
I don't believe anyone takes an unconventional path, no matter how individualistic a person is, unless they have 100% self-interest in that.
Okay.
Right? I understand I took an unconventional path, but it was 100% because this is what I want. At the end of the day, I don't believe that any innovator in Kiev in Jewish education really says what's good for them and what will I generate for them because they do that. Even though they'll tell you that in leadership programs, and it's totally not true. Right. It's because you are obsessed with this for yourself. Right? And that's what creates greatness. And I can give you Kabbalistic sources. In the Gemara, it's called Mashali B'chafetz. Right? You need to learn what your heart wants, because that's when you bring your Chidushay Torah. Because your heart is created to your Keta, and Keta is linked to Ruach HaKodesh. And you're only going to bring in something newly true and newly fantastic when you think, I, Doniel Katz, am going to die unless I get spiritual experience in my own tradition. And I can't hold on anymore. And I've tried to hold on for years, and I'm doing all the things they told me to do. And I like Torah, and I like learning, I like the stuff, but I'm still empty. So give it to me and bring it down. And when you're starving, that's why you get that inspiration. That's why you make those connections. That's why you open up that book. But there's 1,000 books on the bookshelf, but one day you happen to walk into that chair, and one day that book opens, and one day you get that. And there's something that someone says that to you, and you connect with that, and that, you go, oh, that's an opportunity. And then the serendipity, the hashgacha, process, it comes together because you want it for you. And I just had to interrupt your flow to say that if people chase what's meaningful for them, that's when the generation will explode with opportunity in the Jewish world.
At what stage do you feel that it is most important to try to start speaking about these issues? Meaning, is it just going to be a reflection? The way I was potentially taking your answer is, you speak to where you are now, so you'll speak to your peers, and that will slowly filter down. Or is there a ideal stage where you start to tell the kids, the teens, the young grown-ups, the old grown-ups, the old people, like, no, you should be working with what works for really you? Is this a universal lesson, or are you trying to really hone in on one specific demographic?
This is a massively heated debate behind the scenes in our project.
Awesome. That's not the end, right?
The rule is the law of infusion of innovation. If you're not familiar with it, you should wiki it. It's a very cool and interesting thing. Is 100% right? I don't know, but you should know all about it. Is how much of a system do you need to turn over to affect the whole system? There's the innovators, there's the early adopters, there's the late adopters, et cetera, et cetera. So the rule, according to this, is 15 to 18%, which, whether it's exactly 15% or 18%, the fact that it's not Chazal, I could show you sources of Chazal that suggest this. It's not suggest that, but talk about similar patterns like this. The rule that we need to know is you don't have to get everybody. What you need to get is enough people and the right people. That's the number one rule. It's a rule in marketing and branding and a lot of areas. You don't have to get anyone. You have to get 10 to 15%. And you have to get the right people. And that's rule number one. Number two is, therefore, what you're after is low-hanging fruit, because life is short and funding is short and staff is short. And my personal time and energy is short. So you have to go after people who are interested, who are capable, who have minimum emotional and hashkafic resistance. And that basically leaves you and me, Rabbi Rob.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sold. I'm in.
Game on.
Right.
So now's the area I'll be cautious. Who I would have thought would be the ideal target seem to have so many blocks to it that it becomes heartbreaking and challenging. And therefore, what we're shifting and pivoting is the cool word to use today, is don't think so much about it. Don't reach out to build relationships with people that may have hashkafic resistance. Don't reach out to build relations with organizations that may have political motivations to block. Don't convince people that need it that may not be willing yet to hear they need it. Because there's so many people that are hungry. And therefore, set up a tent and give something good and contribute value and care and allow that to be determined themselves. There's enough people that are interested. At the end of the day, there's almost been no Jewish initiative ever, especially in the last couple of years, that has just randomly pointed to a demographic. We're going after, 48 to 60 of this bracket and just gone and did it. But there's so many people that are hungry. And I believe if you go after the low-hanging fruit and you build a critical mass and you care and you show that you can be effective, I believe that, and I'm sorry to use this word in a business professional context, but I believe that God wants something like this, and he could just build that out, and he could build that out. There's no end to the beauty and magic of an organic growth of a movement.
That's beautiful. The idea that actually having emunah in the work that you do and letting God sort of find the people that need to hear from you.
That doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for every organization. It simply doesn't work for every business. You have to have a very strong distinction in the market to pull that off. You have to have a quality enough product that people will buy into it. Do you know what I mean? So that's also true. You can't see everything that every startup did, every Jewish education initiative said, and we're going to do the same. Those things often never work. If you're an amazing coach, which I know you are, you have to say, when do you apply? When do you see comment? When are you different? You need to take a new path, the road on less travel.
The project that you are most excited about, which you've clearly shown is your passion project and what keeps you awake and what you perceive as truly lacking in the world. What, practically speaking, when this is being brought down into the world of action, what do you got for us? How do we find you?
It's called the Elevation Project. You can probably find it on elevationproject.global. And, we're going to be shipping out in the next few months and over the coming years, incredible curriculum and all of self-development and spiritual development. We have an incredible project we're launching. It should be up and running by the time you see this wonderful video series. It's called the Elevation Academy, and you can do an in-depth intellectual, spiritual, experiential study online and go through a whole 8-level curriculum, which we built for years and is really beautiful and something we're really proud of, and it's profound and it's Torah sourced, and it's a very beautiful thing. We'll think people are going to enjoy it. It's a monthly subscription thing. You'll check it out there. The Elevation Academy on elevation.global. And then what we're doing with that is that we're going to come to cities and do real experiential seminars and workshops. And the goal is to teach it, right? And have people doing it. That's wonderful. And to create an online learning chabur international of people coming around together, doing this together, learning this together, of all different ishkafas and no ishkafas, just people working together in self-development. But also what we want to do is we want to get this into schools, and we want to teach this to rabbis and rebbitzins and mishpiyim and psychologists. And we want to empower others to take this and personalize this, right? We want to open up these teachings and Torah teachings. Years we're going to be rolling out teacher training programs, educator project therapy. We're going to offer yeshivas that people can use the curriculums in their own yeshivas. They can use that. We can train their educators. They can outsource to our educators. It's a whole initiative. And where we can take it, how far we take it, as much as we can find amazing people to be a part of this and lead it as well, then I can empower others and they can empower me. So it's a big thing, but there's lots of fun things to check out, and people should check out the website and then get enough leads from there to continue.
Elevation.global. That's correct?
Yeah, you're good at this. That's right.
Good.
Break it down. Make it easy for them.
Okay. Rabbi Katz, thank you so much. You're a champion. Good luck with everything you're doing. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. Much hatzlacha with the podcast, and keep inspiring it and spreading the good word.
There you have it, folks. Another inspiring episode. If you enjoyed this, I ask you to please share this with your friends and to like us over on Rabbi Rupp through Facebook or on YouTube. And the more that we're able to get these important messages out, the more that we can really make an impact in the world. So I encourage you, please, to stay tuned. We have a ton of amazing speakers coming up, and also to tell your friends about it. Thank you very much.